Today, we are going to discuss about super ministers. We have had, I'm trying to say we have had 8 super ministers, but it is possible that in Kenya's history, we have had 6 super ministers. I have been provoked into this discussion by the current examination thefts. And I ask myself, is it the job that describes the minister, or is it the minister who describes the job? You have seen Kenya National Examination Council (NEC) is still the same, but exams are being stolen, isn't it? And they're being stolen when we have a brand new minister. Then we have to ask ourselves, how comes that when certain people occupy certain positions, ministries, they perform badly, and others, they just occupy that position and things change like a bulb at night? Have you seen the darkest of the nights when you just switch on the electricity, the electricity bulb? You'll find that within seconds, the place which was so dark that you could not see where you are coming from and where you are going, it becomes as clear as midday. Why is it that departments do perform well or bad depending on certain ministers? And we are told ministers are political figureheads of the ministries. But then you find that a minister can come from ministry A, go to ministry B, go to ministry C, and the ministry that he or she was heading performs well. When he or she is transferred, then suddenly the ministry performs badly. And the ministry that he or she is going is performing badly. When that minister goes there, it starts performing well. And I still insist, we are told that ministers are political leaders. They are not the principal secretaries who are the chief accounting officers in that ministry. I still don't understand. Let me start with Matangi, Fred Matangi. I would really recommend, if I were to meet His Excellency the President, Kipchirchir William Samoei Arap Ruto, if I were to meet him, I would tell him, kindly appoint Fred Matiang'i immediately as the Minister for Education. But kuna kizungumkuti hapo. Kuna kizungumkuti hapo. If you look at the history of Ruto, the people he has differed with, akikumaliza na kumaliza kabisa. And rehabilitating you takes long. Why am I saying so? Where is Isaac Ruto? I've already talked that in another video. So, rehabilitating and reintegrating a person who has differed with Ruto takes long. What about Matiang'i himself? What do you take Matiang'i? If I have to assess Matiang'i, this is what I would say. Matiang'i, if he gets a phone call today to be the Minister for Education, it will take him 24, not hours, 24 seconds to say yes. Matiang'i is easily moved. You remember when we had Magoha's funeral, Matiang'i started speaking against the current government na akatembelewa not by Gen Z, not by Generation C, but he was visited by Generation Service Unit, GSU. So he's the type of a person whom if is approached immediately and told, forget the past, chukua kazi, fanya nini, jenga nchi, he will do it. But from where I'm seated, I do believe that convincing Ruto to reintegrate Matiang'i may be a challenge and may take slightly more time. Matiang'i created a time frame. In other places, AM comes before PM. But Matiang'i came with PM first, then AM before. When it came to the examination for Form 4, we had pre-Matiang'i marks, and we had after Matiang'i marks. That is PM pre-Matiang'i time and AM after Matiang'i time. You'll find that pre-Matiang'i time, this is what used to happen. There was this thing that was called prayers for the Form 4. When there was prayers for the Form 4, don't ask me, huyu mzee alifanya mtihani wakati wa East African Examination Council, anajuaje mambo ya 844. This is what happened because I was a parent then. They are marked schools, and I want to talk about it in various forms. This is what used to happen. There are various schools that would during the Form 4 prayers day, they would tell everybody to switch off his phone, to switch off everything, and they wanted to talk privately. Then they would agree that a certain amount of money is required we need to raise so much money. When parents and guardians raise that money finds itself sideways and upways, and it goes that way. To an extent that the day after prayers day, they start cramming the exams. They get the exams the following day. And then they start doing it so that when they sit for the exams, they now do the memorizing. They do the memorizing of what they have been doing for the whole month. That is one. Two, some schools, whether they are the same ones, these ones, or even other schools, they would wait until it was the time for marking of the exams. And they would penetrate marking places where students from a certain school would be given marks. It used to be called, I can't remember what it used to be called, but they would decide that everything that students from a particular school would be added 20% of what they got. So if you got 60%, you'll get 80%. And if you got 15%, you'll get 35%. So this is what was given to the examination markers. And examination markers, I understand, there are various levels. There are those teachers who mark the papers. Then there are those supervisors who supervise, I don't know, a handful of the people. Then there is the subject or whatever. They know who they are. It's just like we in the police. With the police, you give out something at the roadblock. Kuna pesa ya OCS, kuna pesa ya... So they do that in the marking place. That is how it used to happen pre-Matiang'i time. That is how it used to happen during the pre-Matangi time. And after Matangi time came, rigging became so impossible. It became so impossible to an extent that we now have started hearing that a person with a C plus, because C plus after Matiang'i, you would be called by coups. You could be called by coups to the university. But pre-Matiang'i time, a person with a B minus would not even think of going to the university. So you'd find even employers reached a place when they were employing people, they would not tell you. You would apply for the same job with somebody younger than you, of course. You have a B minus, he has a C plane, and he is taken. Why? Because he got a Matiang'i C. Matiang'i left that place after the death of the general. He was made the Minister for Internal Affairs. He performed so well in the Internal Affairs Ministry. The only problem he performed poorly in the Internal Affairs Ministry, he did not respect the Deputy Head of State. That is the only problem he had. Otherwise, he was a very perfect minister. We go to another perfect minister. This one was Michuki. Michuki headed 3 different ministries. Michuki headed 3 different ministries. I do not know which ministry he started with and which one he ended up with. So, you will excuse me if the order that I declare them may not necessarily be the order that he did it. Michuki served in the Internal Affairs Ministry. When I think I still apologize, but I think he started with the transport. He started off with these Michuki rules. When he started off with these Michuki rules, he performed so well that he brought in Michuki rules. And the Matatu people thought of one thing. They said that let us take our vehicles off the road so that wananchi suffers walking from Kawangware to industrial area so that they feel the pain and forces Michuki to. What they did not know or what they had underestimated is that the citizen sided with Michuki and citizens started waking up at 3 a.m. Now, if you wake up at 3 a.m. or even midnight and you walk 100 people, you're safe. Its only problem is if there will be a rain. Michuki performed so well that Matatu industry went so well. And the only problem that came was during the 2005, what do you call, referendum, where during the 2005 referendum, delegations used to visit the president and the Matatu people went and pushed. And then there was some drawback. If we would not have had that delegation of Matatu people to see the president before the 2005, Michuki rules would have still been maintained. And even the little that was remaining is still effective to date. When you are leaving town and you are going to reroute a satellite, those days, pre-Michuki days, you'd enter a city hopper, unapangwa hata afadhali omena. You sit in such a way, and if you are a short person and you are seated next to a tall person who ate a lot of beans, you'll have problems. So you'll be squeezed that way from town up to Kenya Science is when you'll start. You can now know where you are. And then you'll find a sitting place when you reach Wanye Road. From there, you'll just sit in two to three bus stops and you'll come out. That is how transport was before Michuki rules. Michuki later was taken to the Internal Affairs Ministry after the death. No, I don't know whether it was after the death of the general or not, but he was taken to the Ministry of Internal Affairs. We had a problem with the Mungiki. He demolished Mungiki. He did it with one person, with Kingori Mwangi. They did it so well that even Kingori Mwangi was being marked to be the next head of the police. But what happened? You see, if it is known that you are the next boss, people who are not happy will have an opportunity to block you. And that is why Kingori Mwangi was the best police boss that never was. Rest in peace, my friend. He was my personal friend. Then, that is Michuki in Transport Ministry. That is Michuki in the Internal Affairs Ministry. Then Michuki was taken to Environment. When he went to Environment, up to today, how many environment ministers have we had since Michuki? To date, very many. But we still have Michuki Park, nothing more. And Michuki had even sworn, had he not died early, he had even sworn that he himself would swim in Nairobi River. That is the only MP, not MP, that is the only politician who could say something and people believe it. We even hear right now being told that, people will swim in Nairobi River in the next 2 to 3 months. If it came from Michuki, then we could have believed him. Then we have Magoha. If Magoha would have been alive, I would have insisted that Magoha be the Minister for Education. But Professor, rest in eternal peace. We have seen most of these ministers who are effective is usually from the president's tribe. You can see that although Biwott was evil-minded, but if Biwott would have wanted to develop Kenya during Moi's time, he would have done that. Michuki was of the same tribe, so on and so on. But we find that His Excellency Professor Soprano did perform very well in the Internal Affairs Ministry. So what we need now, before April next year, we need a reshuffle in the Ministry of Education and place there a very heavy-handed person. We have two vacancies. There is Madam Lady, who was appointed, who was vetted by the National Assembly, and they rejected her. And then Brigiji going out and Kindiki going up, there is a vacancy there. Those two vacancies there. So it is also possible for there to be a reshuffle. And in such a reshuffle, I would recommend that the current Minister for Cabinet Secretary for Education be removed and be taken to places like Environment. And then a very forceful person goes there so as to return. Of course, you remember when Michuki brought in Michuki rules, we did not go back to where we were, but we are closer there than now. So if there is a reshuffle because of filling in those two positions, I would recommend that the current cabinet secretary be taken to another ministry like environment, and a forceful person be taken to the Ministry of education. Thank you for watching my video. You don't know how happy I am when you watch it and comment, especially positive comments. Thank you.